Good morning, everyone.
Let's go.
Thanks very much for coming this morning, and welcome to our summit in Ottawa. This session, as we know, is called How to Launch Enterprise Transformation and Optimize Costs. My name is Maria Ellis. I'm a senior manager at AWS and responsible for our Canadian public sector partners here in Canada. I wanted to introduce Andre Leduc, who will be joining me this morning. Andre is our business development and capture manager responsible in our Canadian market. And I will also introduce Kevin Grimes from Public Sector Amazon Business. He will share some insights for us. And Graham Denny, who is the Deputy CIO from Athabasca University, who will share some experiences that I know you're going to find really, really compelling.
But before we get underway, we have a word from our sponsor.
My name's Pat Gelsinger. I'm the CEO of Intel, and I've had a long and wonderful history with AWS. First in my EMC role, then as CEO of VMware, and now as the CEO of Intel. A great partnership over many years. Well, I recall 15 years ago when I first saw the cloud and S3 and EC2 emerging, and my first reaction was, huh? Right? Why do I run it in the cloud versus in the data center? And all of a sudden, the light bulb went on. And I said, this will change the industry. This will change how people use computing. And wow, that's certainly been the case over the last 15 years. Intel and AWS EC2 have had an incredible journey together, where AWS is always saying, how can we do a bigger module, a bigger node instance type? So these in particular have been areas that Intel and AWS have been able to innovate together in exciting, powerful ways. And more recently, as we've talked about our Intel Foundry services, and AWS is one of our first customers for those. So we're quite excited that this partnership will keep nudging both of us along to do greater and greater things. Well, the first time I saw some of the discussions around AI and SageMaker, it was sort of like, wow, making AI truly accessible for developers in a very easy to use and powerful way. And of course, how we could enhance silicon underneath that to make it faster, to make it more programmable, to be able to solve some of the data type and data size problems associated with AI. And all of those uniquely being made available with AWS and Intel working together. Cloud is becoming this ubiquitous infrastructure. But all of a sudden, as we start to see 5G and edge computing, it's how does the cloud go from being a place, which it largely is today, but a computing model that truly is available wherever the customers will want to use it. I believe this next phase of cloud isn't just about how we make it bigger and faster, but it's how we make it truly geographically dispersed, where cloud goes from being a place to truly a computing model accessible to all.
Great. Okay, so we are going to spend the next 25 minutes covering the agenda that you see here. Cloud economics has really become an important topic for organizations because it encompasses all aspects of the value that cloud can bring you. It's applicable throughout the entire cloud journey, and it is something that we do have to consider to get from start to end. Today we're concentrating on the element of cloud economics that relates to the migration of workloads to cloud. We'll describe and explain the essential elements of cloud economics. Then we'll get into the detail of the challenges in putting together a robust business case. We'll look at all the practical ways to ensure that the business case is as solid as possible. And we'll round off by highlighting a range of additional useful resources to draw on. So the big question is always, what information should I gather to demonstrate to the C-suite the value of moving to AWS? So to start, let's get back to the basics and level set on cloud economics overall. This chart depicts how the economics of cloud are different from traditional technology economics. Let's imagine you're launching a capability. It's a new capability. And what you're trying to do is predict what the demand will be for the service. This is the orange dotted line. And based on this, taking a traditional hardware-centric approach, you'll spec a solution, you'll spec a size that will address day one needs and anticipated growth for a period of time. So this is the pink line on the chart. The lowest horizontal level of the pink line is the capacity that you initially purchased, the initial capacity that you believe that you're going to need. Once you launch, you get to see how the actual demand turns out. And this is the purple squiggly line. And this is how you can sort of understand if you predict it adequately or not. So the real demand won't be a straight line ever, but hopefully it will increase over time, whether it's students enrolling in courses, or patients being treated in hospitals, or citizens being provided with public services. As demand increases, you'll forward forecast the growth and buy, install, and provision lumps of technology resources, and this is the upward step in the pink line. The hope is that you stay ahead of the game, obviously, but the reality is that sometimes you fall short and we have an outage or a reduced service. This is where the purple squiggly line comes across the pink line, and we end up with the blue triangles, or the purple triangle there. Later on, we see a much bigger gap as we come to the end of the orange line arrow. That big gap is really where we're not having an effective use of resources, and we are significantly compromised. So when the curve crosses over the lines, we are depicting where, in fact, there are not enough resources for demand versus purchase. And what will happen is your constituents will suffer. So the alternative is to maintain a significant over-provisioning. This is expensive and not a very good use of resources at all. But Gartner and McKinsey say that 50% of excess capacity is typical. 50%, that's a lot of extra capacity to have and to buy just in case you need it. So this is a figure we tend to see quite regularly when assessing workloads for our public sector customers. Instead, cloud can provide you the elasticity. This is the blue line that we see here, the blue squiggly line. So elasticity enables us to quickly scale up and down in line with demand. And when demand falls back, obviously the cloud consumption can fall back. So this fulfills one of the fundamentals of cloud, which is allowing you to provision only what's required, so you only pay for what you need. This capability of cloud to effortlessly scale up and down, as required in line with demand, has a significant impact on the dynamics of technology procurement. I'll show you this in the next couple of slides. But from a financial and procurement perspective, the traditional process for budgeting, requesting, approving, procuring, and physically installing IT infrastructure is highly structured. Engineering or IT teams are typically the requesters. Various finance teams act as approvers and procurers. Operations teams install and hand off ready-to-use infrastructure. These processes have evolved over some decades and have been really effective, especially in mitigating the high cost of failure from long-term technology purchases. Once the infrastructure is in place, a lot changes though, and costs are predictable and easy to forecast. However, the flip side of all of this is that the processes are cumbersome and result in over-provisioning of resources because of the long cycle and times getting additional hardware operational. It also slows down the experimentation of our teams and innovation. Teams become blocked and they become dependent on other parts of the organization. So while the process has really been historically fit for purpose, it's not suited to the dynamic nature of cloud. Organizations looking to get the most out of cloud capability have recognized that they need to change their processes and organizational practices. As always, technology is just part of the picture, we always do need to consider people with the processes and culture. So it's really key to have all of that. What cloud does is it necessitates a brand new model with finance technology in close collaboration. This enables the benefits of cloud to be fully realized. Agility, flexibility, and the ability to only use what's required, so you only pay for what's required, and keeping the unit cost low. The cycles for approval, procurement, and infrastructure deployment are vastly reduced with cloud. This increases agility and drives innovation. At the same time, it's essential that the finance model for tracking spend and forecasting costs evolves to keep pace at the same time. The old procurement model reduces the risk of unexpected cost overruns as much as was known so far in advance. Cloud has exposed that much of this known cost was excess capability and didn't deliver value. So back to that 50% of over-provisioning that we talked about earlier. The alignment of cloud to value creates opportunity to be more agile in a way that technology supports an organization's objectives. So whether that's fulfilling citizen services, providing education, improved healthcare, or supporting not-for-profits. Agility means responding quickly and efficiently. As a result, the cloud has had massive impact on the way that finance and procurement work with our technology teams. This is a big transformation for organizations used to working in the old model. So it's a mindset change. This is FinOps. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Andre, who will discuss developing that business case.
Thank you, Maria. So let's move on and look at the business case. And the business case consists of 5 core elements. The starting point is discovery and gaining an understanding of what your footprint is today. This informs the second phase, which is landscape mapping. Then we move on to developing a forecast. And this takes the AWS equivalents and then adds purchase efficiencies, like how savings plans can be used to significantly reduce cost. A key factor to consider is the current state costs and the total cost of ownership, ensuring that you will do a true apples-to-apples comparison. The final input is to understand what are the costs associated with migration, factoring in, of course, the assistance that AWS provides through various programs to help accelerate your journey and minimize your costs. So how can organizations quantify the business value of moving to the cloud? And how can they build the business case that justifies the transformation and change? To answer this, we worked backwards from what we were seeing from some of our best-in-class customers. And born out of that, we get the AWS Cloud Value Framework. To quantify and better understand the business impact of cloud migrations, we conducted a number of studies with customers who'd undergone the migrations. We brought in an independent market research firm to examine the results achieved from 1,500 customers who migrated from on-premise environments and have been operating in AWS for over a year. And these are some of the stats you're seeing on screen. While the various paths towards cloud may be different, we consistently see a combination of these 4 distinct areas. The first one is cost savings. Now, this is typically the conversation starter. In this pillar here, we're talking about the economic benefit that cloud can achieve that typically can't be achieved in an on-premise model. And remember, Maria was pointing out that concept of elasticity. You have very little over-provisioning when you're working in the cloud. And then customers grow and mature on the platform. We consistently witness continued cost savings and improvements as customers modernize, optimize, and leverage more cloud-native architectures. So taking all this into account, naturally, the next question is, what is the magnitude of cost savings that AWS customers are seeing? First, a bit about that benchmarking again. So we commissioned an independent study. They did it over a few years. We had 1,500 enterprise customers across 26 industries, measuring 15 operational and financial key performance indicators. So specifically, the study surveys application and line of business owners to measure these quantifiable KPIs on premises versus operating in the AWS cloud for greater than 1 year. So in this cohort of 1,500 customers, we're seeing the average customer reporting around a 27% cost reduction to operate their applications on AWS versus their prior on-premise environment. Actually, the average here is quite similar to what Marie was just pointing out earlier. And interestingly, this isn't the full story, because we're also seeing savings over time as customers mature on AWS and they identify additional opportunities. The second pillar of the cloud value framework is staff productivity. These are the benefits that customers witness by enabling the shift from tactical, undifferentiated work, and it's reducing the time spent by IT staff on these system administrative tasks or operational support tasks. With AWS, organizations can manage more virtual machines and greater volumes of data using the same or reduced staffing levels. This allows organizations to focus their highly valuable IT resources on developing applications that differentiate their business and transform customer or citizen experiences. So for staff productivity, there are a number of administrative tasks that either go away completely or greatly diminish when you're operating on AWS. For example, you'll no longer need to physically arrange or provision spares in case of hardware failure. Or you can dramatically simplify and automate significant portions of an admin's time on patching and updating. In our study with migration customers, we measured these improvements by taking a look at the volume of VMs and terabyte storage per IT admin, both during the on-prem deployment and after migrating to the AWS cloud. What we found from that benchmarking study was that overall, a 58% increase in virtual machines and a 68% increase in terabytes of storage managed per admin after migrating to AWS. We also had a number of profiling questions in the study. What was really significant was looking at those customers that re-architected, refactored, or re-platformed their applications to fully leverage the functionality and benefits of the cloud. Their staff productivity metrics saw more than double the improvement seen in overall populations of those companies that simply lifted and shifted from on-prem to cloud. Moving to the right, operational resilience. This relates to the benefits of the availability and security that comes with the AWS cloud. This enables customers to improve SLAs while reducing unplanned downtime and risk. So in our studies, we measured the quantifiable impact of reducing unplanned downtime, reducing incidents on critical applications, and the ability for customers to architect their environment to decrease mean time to resolution when incidents do occur. The cost of downtime and security risks are obviously high to any enterprise, yet quantifying this can be very difficult. So in our work, we found an analyst, IDC, and they speak to the critical application outages that have billions of dollars of impacts to organizations. Similarly, on the security front, the ability to help customers reduce the likelihood of a breach or lost and stolen data or records can have a significant impact on business. So in this pillar, we were able to measure a number of distinct KPIs and improvements driving business impact post-AWS migration. Customers reported an average 57% decrease in downtime after migrating to AWS. Further, these same customers reported a 24% decrease in total monthly incidents and a 32% decrease in incidents after migration. So lower downtime, lower incidents, and lastly, we showed a 39% decrease in the mean time to resolution when incidents did occur. Finally, on the far right, we're seeing customers generating the biggest impact to their business by achieving business agility. In this pillar, these are the benefits AWS customers see by being able to accelerate time to market, which is increasing their ROI, increasing the pace of experimentation, faster deployment of new applications. This is really enabling the fail fast culture to allow customers to experiment and innovate, to respond quickly to customer demands. This is obviously unique to each business and use case, but across the board, This is really the area we see customers generating the largest business value, in their case, to migrate to the cloud. So how do customers identify and measure the impact when benefits in this area can be felt across different parts of the organization? Some examples might include the number of new applications launched in a year, the time to market for new applications, response time to address defects in hours, time to provision new environments in days, or time to deploy production in weeks. Like I've said, for most organizations we work with, business agility is the primary goal they're looking to achieve from cloud adoption. In our studies, business agility gains were universal among customers regardless of investment level, time on AWS, the number of users, and the AWS footprint. In measuring this impact, customers are seeing a 38% reduction in time to market for new features, a 342% increase in code deployment frequency, and a 39% reduction in the time it takes to deploy new code. Fairly predictably, organizations that are using Agile and DevOps on an AWS-hosted application see even higher gains. Again, measuring agility and its impact to the business is obviously unique to each organization, but the effects of reducing code deployment time and increasing frequency are naturally related to tend to reduce time to market for new features and services, which can enhance customer or citizen satisfaction. So lastly, IDC interviewed organizations from around the world running various enterprise workloads on AWS. And they wanted to understand the impact of AWS on their IT and business operations. Additional benefits include creating more cost-effective IT environments by optimizing compute, storage, database costs, and moving away from running their own IT infrastructures. Shifting IT staff from undifferentiated work to differentiated work, and strategic business initiatives, including application development. Offering reliable and high-performing applications that lead to operational efficiencies in the form of higher productivity, fewer business disruptions, with an average 94% less productive time lost during outages. And finally, instilling IT and business operations with the agility to deliver cost-effective IT resources on an on-demand basis to address business opportunities as they arise. With interviewed organizations delivering almost 3 times more new business features and applications with AWS, helping to win more business and increase revenue. I'm going to hand it back to Maria, and she's going to walk you through the TCO engagement output.
Thank you. Oops. Okay, so the cloud value framework that Andre has just run through is a great methodology for considering the range of cloud benefits beyond cost savings. So whenever possible, you should consider really looking at including these factors into your business case: staff productivity, operational resilience, and business agility. The metrics that Andre had described and others from our benchmark studies can be used to quantify the specific benefits you can obtain. We've got links at the end of the presentation that can help you with some resources with all these details, so make sure that you download a copy at the end of the session. So anyway, the majority of organizations still focus first and foremost on cost savings. So when developing a cloud business case, we recommend developing a total cost of ownership. This is a summary view of a typical business case that we produce for AWS customers. It summarizes and forecasts costs of AWS broken down by service type over the organization's decision timeframe. In this case, we're going to look at a 5-year cost optimization, typically in line with on-premise hardware refresh policy. So this summary here that you can see highlights the overall cost savings, the annual values, and the percentage of savings against the on-premises costs. The summary is backed up by a detailed breakdown of on-premises against AWS, together with a year-over-year analysis. The business case should be seen as an enabler and both a decision and a planning tool, so all 3 components. We often work at a comprehensive layer by assessing savings at the level of an organization's entire data center infrastructure and often multiple data centers. Getting a holistic view of the forecasted cost savings allows an organization to plan their journey and to prioritize how and when they migrate, and what they migrate, frankly. As I mentioned earlier, to perform an effective, comparative, comprehensive TCO, or total cost of ownership, requires a comprehensive view of all current costs. This seems really straightforward, but it's not. In practice, the data is so often spread across the organization and multiple different teams, it's very hard to get all of the data. The teams responsible for network contracts and bandwidth costs are typically separate from the teams that maintain hardware and racks. And they're often unaware of the facilities costs that align to floor space occupied by the hardware. So what you need to do is gather all of the data from every component. So without that consolidation of views, there's no way you're going to get a total cost of ownership. The business case will get rejected when your executive realizes that you've missed a component of the operational review. The bottom line is to do it right, and you really need to deep dive on all of the costs that support the infrastructure environment. So the good news is that we have plenty of experience building a business case, and we have solid methodologies to draw on, together with lots and lots of marketing data and metrics that you can use if you need guidance. Even with all of this detail, and even if we undertake a multi-data center assessment, we follow a simple, effective methodology. We start with discovery, gathering a detailed inventory, server by server, whether physical or virtual. We use a range of tools to do this and utilize existing data sources. For example, an extract from a configuration management database. We have our own AWS tool, which is called the AWS Migration Evaluator, but there are a number of AWS technology partners that have solutions that gather this data as well, an effective but secure, unobtrusive way. And the total approach has one big advantage. It gathers the utilization data, measuring average and peak utilization of CPU and memory over the entire collection period. We also collect storage utilization at this time. So all of this data about utilization really helps us to precisely define the actual capacity required to run each of your applications. This leads to step 2. Rather than carrying this technical overcapacity to the cloud, the migration is an opportunity to right-size, to launch services knowing that they'll meet current demand, but that the elasticity of AWS can be utilized to scale up and down as required. If the business case is to be complete from a cost perspective, then it also needs to consider the actual migration cost. Migrating to the cloud means a period of additional costs with some systems dual running and costs of the migration process together, along with training and testing. So the business case needs to also take account these costs. These are unavoidable. However, a migration plan should also balance off these costs with the pace at which the benefits of the migration can be realized. Getting the migration sequence right from the beginning will accelerate your benefits. To further assist you, AWS has a variety of programs that help customers to both minimize and reduce the time frame while mitigating any risk. AWS has a few programs that help customers avoid duplicate environments or parallel runs, planning and assessment, migration and consulting, staff training, third-party tooling, and any lease penalties that you might be running into. The sooner customers migrate, the lower their migration bubble. And AWS is always standing by to help support your journey. I just want to spend a minute on some of this TCO and cost optimization, looking at the entire discussion, but also highlight that when we're helping customers understand the financial realities of cloud migration, the lift and shift approach should really only be a starting point in the journey. As Andre indicated in his slides, we leverage utilization data during the data gathering phase to help you further optimize by right-sizing that environment during the business case process. Most often, early in the cloud migration, with the right data details, the TCO analysis completed will be able to take into consideration much of the cloud optimization levers that we just discussed. So these are the first steps in the waterfall. Right-size the capacity, take advantage of the cloud elasticity on both volume and time, and optimize for storage tiers. At this point in the TCO evaluation, most customers won't always have the right insights to specific applications to identify opportunities to modernize or even evaluate cloud-native services. This is just to show that optimized lift and shift approach will often highlight those initial cost optimization opportunities that are considered in an early TCO. But this should not be thought of as the long-term cost as a customer matures and deepens their abilities on AWS. Here are a few resources to help you get started in planning the business case for cloud. Talk with your account team or work with one of our partners in our extensive network to help you get started on this journey. We encourage you to get engaged with our training and certification content today. As you build your skills, consider preparing for one of our 12 AWS certifications. The industry-recognized certifications span foundational, professional, and specialty levels to validate AWS technology and skills. And in addition, building your credibility and self-confidence within your organizations. You can scan one of the QR codes on the screen to get started with your cloud skills, training, and certification. Okay, so I am going to introduce Kevin Grimes from our Amazon business in the public sector. Thank you. Hey, Kev.
Awesome. Thank you, Maria. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for having me today. I'm excited to be here. I only have a few minutes because I want to get to what is the encore of this presentation with Graham Denny from Athabasca University. My name is Kevin Grimes. I'm the head of public sector sales for Amazon Business in Canada. And there are two reasons I'm here today. The first reason is that AWS and Amazon Business have both been partners with Athabasca University in the digital and enterprise transformation. I'll speak a little bit on what that looks like from an Amazon Business standpoint, and then I'm going to turn it over to Graham to talk about, from the customer perspective, what they're seeing. So Amazon Business, I know we're at an AWS conference right now, but show of hands, does anyone here, is anyone familiar with Amazon Business? Has anyone heard of Amazon Business? We've got a couple hands. I was expecting that. Anybody using Amazon Business right now in their organization? Okay, so we'll talk about a little bit about what Amazon Business is and tie it back to what we've done with Athabasca as well. But so what is Amazon Business? So we've been working closely with AWS and Athabasca, and one of the pieces of feedback that we've actually gotten from customers is that, and an opportunity that we recognized as Amazon Business and AWS is that until recently, we've been working pretty independently, AWS and Amazon Business, with a lot of the same customers. And so we recognize an opportunity to come together as AWS and Amazon Business to have a more collaborative approach. And that's part of what Athabasca has led us to what we've developed, or what we like to refer to as a one Amazon approach. And so AWS, Amazon Business, and other teams at Amazon that are serving the same customer, we understand that the collaboration piece there is key, and we're already seeing customers yield value from that collaboration piece. So, so what is Amazon Business? So if you think about everything that we've done on the consumer side for Amazon, what we've done at Amazon Business is we've taken that and we've developed a business solution for customers to shop on Amazon with the tools they need, with the control they need, and the visibility that they need. we sit down with a lot of public sector procurement executives, and one of the first things that they say is, Amazon is kind of the Wild West of procurement, and we need a way to control that. So now Amazon Business allows organizations to buy on Amazon and leverage the power of the marketplace and do so in a control environment. So who do we work with? And I'm gonna rush through some of these slides because we want to get to Graham real quick. The Amazon Business Public Sector team is here today. We have a booth, so please stop by at some point today. We'd love to hear from you. So who do we work with? Right now, Amazon Business has over 5 million customers, and that's across 9 different countries. We are still a relatively new B2B procurement solution. We launched in the US in 2015. We're live in 9 countries, as I mentioned. Canada, we just launched in 2019. So if you think about the timing of that, we launched just prior to the pandemic, and so 18 to 24 months of us being live in Canada, we're offline to a large degree with our customers. But we work with globally a little over 80 of the Fortune 100 companies. We work with 92 of the 100 largest hospital systems, and then over 30 of the top nonprofit organizations. I think I'm going to skip over this slide. I think one thing that I'll touch on real quick, another piece of feedback that we're hearing from procurement executives in the public sector space is that their end users, so their stakeholders, are asking for an online shopping experience similar to what they have at home with Amazon, but in a business environment. And in a lot of cases, those same stakeholders are already buying on Amazon for their organization, which causes a lot of headaches for the procurement team. But I will skip through this slide as well. We are still, I mentioned this, we're still very new in Canada in terms of the Amazon Business solution. We have had success already with several customers, Athabasca included. And I won't read through this quote specifically, but the city of Brampton here is highlighting the work that we've done with them actually earlier on in the pandemic. If you think about what we've invested in logistically on the consumer side, we're able to take that into Amazon Business and our large customers, and we work with customers of all sizes, up from the largest government entity down to sole proprietors on the commercial side. We're able to leverage what we've done on the consumer side in the business environment, and that's part of what the strategic communications leader here of City of Brampton is highlighting. I will skip through this one as well. I'll highlight the City of Kelowna really quickly, and then I want to make sure we get to Graham here. The City of Kelowna actually, so we've been working with the City of Kelowna for some time now. They started with what is typically the first stage of the Amazon Business customer journey, and they started with consolidating a lot of that rogue retail spend that they're seeing on Amazon already. That's a big part of, or that's a big piece of the value that Amazon brings. It gives you all as procurement leaders and IT leaders the ability to offer the marketplace as an option to your organization in a compliant way. Haven't mentioned the pricing, the business-specific pricing or the bulk discounts. We've mentioned a little more soft costs here, but you do get business pricing and bulk discounts as part of Amazon Business. Real quick on this slide, so how do we support public sector customers? So I won't ask for a show of hands here, but we do work with a lot of customers that are still very much paper-based in their procurement process, believe it or not. If that is you, you're not alone. But reducing operating costs and time savings, that's a big piece of what Amazon does. Strategic sourcing insights, so that's a big piece of our work with Amazon or with AWS. There's a tool called QuickSight that is built off of AWS. That's part of the partnership and what we've done with Athabasca too. We integrate with procurement software too. All of these things we can talk more about at the booth, but we're running out of time here, and I want to turn it over to Graham here. Real quickly, How things started with Athabasca is we initiated the relationship in May of 2020 for COVID supplies, and we were able to be nimble and agile there in terms of helping Athabasca University with what they needed there. We continued to evolve the relationship there and started working more with IT individuals in leadership. And then today we're expanding into more traditional B2B supplies categories like books, office supplies, and others. But with that, since we only have about 10 minutes left, I want to bring up Graham Denny, who's the Deputy CIO of Athabasca University, and he's who we really want to hear from in terms of the customer perspective here too. So thank you so much for your time. Please come visit us at the booth. I think we're 221 in the exhibit hall. So thank you. Let's bring up Graham.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's nice to see everyone finally together. Greetings from Athabasca University. My name is Graham Denny, and today I'm going to talk about our AWS journey from a financial perspective. Our main campus, in case you don't know anything about AU, is in the heart of the Boreal Forest. We are about 90 minutes north of Edmonton. We're Canada's only 100% online and open university. We have about 44,000 students at all different stages of their learning journey. We also have students in every province and territory in Canada and 92 countries around the world. We also have 1,300 staff who work across Canada. And we are one of 4 research universities in Alberta. We also use AWS computing resources for our research environment. All right, let's get into the numbers here. So, first things first, some accounting ground rules to help understand our journey. This slide is the equivalent to don't bring an IT guy to a finance meeting. Financial conversations are like a foreign language to many IT people, and vice versa, of course. So in order to understand the value of this AWS journey that we're on, it helps to have partners at the table that speak both languages. So don't try and enunciate the value for IT or finance by yourself. At AU, we worked with our finance team. We worked with the Auditor General for the Government of Alberta, and we created a tangible capital assets policy. It has strict rules about what is an operating expense and what is a capital expense. And this is really important because it helps to allocate funding properly for the benefit of the organization. And finally, the accounting rules for each province and business are different, and you absolutely have to consider this as part of your expenditures. I know it says YMMV, but in reality, it's your province may vary, so YPMV. And please don't run off and do stuff and then say, it's because that guy from Athabasca University said it worked just like that. So this is the slide for the IT folk here. And if you're in finance, take it, show your IT guys. This is what we had. And I just wanted to show the size and the complexity of the environment that we discovered, and I'll come to that in a second. The most important thing you can do is understand what is in your environment today. From our perspective, in order to do our business case, we scanned our environment with 3 different tools. We wanted to make sure we knew what we had. We did a hardware scan, we did a software scan, and then we used a tool that calculated ROI based on hardware and software. We then worked with AWS on a business case. Was it really going to be worth it to move? And honestly, how would we do that? We looked at cloud economics, we looked at the accounting rules as I'd mentioned, we looked at total cost of ownership, and ultimately we looked at the cost of growth. Finally, we sorted it out and we made a decision on the best process to migrate. And just so you know, we agonized. Do we optimize on-premise and move to cloud, or do we move to cloud and optimize when we're there? How would we do this without negatively impacting students and staff? So the spoiler alert here, because I'm here today, is that we were able to get everything pulled together. We were the first, and so far we are the only Canadian post-secondary institution. We have 100% of our production environment running on AWS today. Let's talk about where we are. So this slide, I actually, when I was looking at the slides from earlier, I said, I want that slide, can I have it? And when you saw before, the dotted box is on the one side, the on-premise side. Where that box is right now for AU is where you see it. You might say, well, Graham, how can you be here and have such a wide area? And the answer that I'm going to tell you is the reality, is that this is a journey. We've got some old stuff. We've got some new stuff. We are using AWS Managed Services, or AMS, for our new stuff. We still have things where we're trying to understand utilization. We have a major initiative going on right now called the Integrated Learning Environment. That is fundamentally changing what we have. And unfortunately, we've kept old stuff around so that we can take it out and not upgrade it. But bottom line here, I get asked all the question, when is the right time to go? And my answer is, it's now. Because before you get asked for a $2 million storage array or another $1.8 million in rack-mounted servers, I guarantee you that your environment later is going to be more complicated than it is today. So this is the slide that everybody likes. So these are the actual real-world numbers that we've been successful in delivering to Athabasca University students, staff, and other stakeholders. We met the objectives of our 5-year Imagine strategy and our 5-year IT strategy called RISE. And those, by the way, are both available on the internet. You can go and have a look at them. Now, we're working on new strategies to take us to the next level. We are focused on delivering value for students, staff, and other stakeholders, and we continue to improve our environment and our efficiency with AWS tools and strategies. These savings are real. Absolutely everything you see in the slide, we achieve through cost reduction, cost avoidance, and pure operating efficiencies. I'll give you an example. I have not approved server hardware acquisition since we started on our journey, and we were spending about 1.8 to 2.5 million a year on new servers. So, what is our approach for cost savings? Well, we capacity planned. We don't procure provision for equipment, especially because it's going to take about 6 to 9 months to be operational from the time you get it. We don't over-provision for our needs. We don't buy 20 to 50% beyond what we need just in case something happens in the future. We only pay for what we need and use. During periods of low utilization, we scale back. The system scales up during higher utilization needs. And supply and demand are closely matched, and therefore we eliminate the waste inherent in traditional data centers. We reduced IT costs. We save money by actually not spending it in the first place. We avoid data center costs, RFPs, hardware, software, networking, facilities, operations, and ongoing upgrades to that environment. We can stop or start a service at any time, which increases our efficiency. And this is one we're working on right now, automatic archiving and movement to lower cost and lower use infrastructure. We found that we have a lot of dev and test environments, and people were treating their environments as pets. They were caring, feeding them, updating them, and surviving for a long, long time. In fact, the thing that blew me away was when I saw people's names start to show up in dev and test environments. So, we manage our cost savings and we try and maximize them. I review every single AWS bill. We try and tag everything. We use AWS Cost Explorer, we use AWS Trusted Advisor, and we continually look for opportunities to improve our utilization. Amazon EC2 reserved instances and other savings plans mean that we can pre-buy, get a discount up front, and save as much as 75% on demand. One of the things I get hit up with all the time is spot pricing. It's crazy. Absolutely it is. So we do our best to pre-buy as much as we can. And I want to just let you know that these RIs and saving plans go a long way to reducing costs. Right now, and I did the math yesterday, we're saving about 21.4% with reserved instances and savings plans, and we plan to do more. So, what's next for AU? Well, we continue to work with AWS. We continue to reduce and eliminate risk for our students and our staff. We are modernizing and optimizing our operating environment, and that's ongoing. There's no one and done for us today. We're working with AWS Professional Services. We have a fabulous relationship with ProServe, and we continue to look for new opportunities using new tools and new products. We also work with AWS Managed Services, and they are helping us find new ways of managing and protecting the environment as automatically as possible. And finally, we invest in training. Everyone, including myself, has mandatory AWS courses we have to finish. So this means that Athabasca University, we are agile, we are resilient, and we've improved productivity and efficiency with reduced total cost of ownership. And just so you know, that bullet at the bottom there in blue, Athabasca University, we're actually ahead of our ROI estimates, and we continue to look for ways to further improve our journey for our students and our staff. Thank you very much.